Good evening, folks. Tonight we're going to talk about the new top 25, and I may forego. This is an off week for Ohio State, but if there are any upsets within the top 25, well, I will repost the new top 25 if there are any upsets within the top 25. So that'll be a discussion to talk about, and then we'll talk about other games. Then starting November 4th, that week I will not even be talking about the top 25 because it becomes the top 25 playoff poll. That becomes then, because the Associated Press poll, which is that, and the coaches poll are pretty much, obsolete then, because now we're doing the playoff poll. That's pretty much the thing that now comes to the mind, because, we could easily do the AP poll to try to get a general idea of what the playoff poll will look like, but I highly doubt that'll be exactly what it will be, but that will give you a general idea of what it will look like. Now, as of what it looks like for Ohio State, let's look at how it all looks here. Okay, let's do it with the top 25. Here we go. Ohio State totally annihilated Wisconsin from start to finish, 34-0. Despite struggles with the running game, and still managed to get the running game going, they managed to shut down Wisconsin 34-0. Their next game is November 1st, which is a week from this Saturday. They'll take on Penn State. Then next comes, number 2 is Indiana, who pretty much did a very good job taking care of business with Michigan State, even though they struggled early with Michigan State. They won 38-13. Then they host UCLA, so I don't know. UCLA's put up some pretty decent numbers, and they made. I'll even do I even have 2 teams that are not in the top 25 that we're going to talk specifically about. Then Texas A&M pulls off a victory in the last few seconds over Arkansas, 45-42. They'll travel to LSU next. So that's going to be a very good one. They'll travel to LSU. They also have a bye week, so they'll travel to LSU on their next game. Now, Alabama, who pretty much thought this would be a cakewalk, and it kind of seemed like a cakewalk, but it definitely was not a cakewalk. Pulled away in the fourth, winning 37-20 against Tennessee. They're ahead 23-7 at half, but Tennessee kind of came back and showed them 4. So that kind of showed you. Now they host South Carolina. They travel to South Carolina, so that'll be interesting to see how Alabama does at South Carolina. Now, Georgia, they had a battle with Ole Miss. They somehow managed to pull it off 43-35. And Florida, they will host Florida on November 1st. They also have a bye. And Oregon, I don't know how they did it. They demolished Rutgers, 56-10, and look out Wisconsin. I don't know. Wisconsin should just throw in the white flag right now. They are going to get destroyed by Oregon, unless Wisconsin has some kind of miracle up their sleeve. And then Georgia Tech. They just did a phenomenal job. They came from behind and ended up beating Duke 27-18. They'll host Syracuse next. They're number 7. Then you have number 8, Ole Miss. Well, then that's the reverse psychology. But after their 43-35 loss to Georgia, they will host Oklahoma. So that'll be a game to watch very closely. That might get Oklahoma back into the talk of being in the conversation when that time comes around. Now, Miami, on the other hand, they fell from the number 2 spot all the way down to number 9 after they got upset by Louisville, 24-21. I'm still surprised they're still in the top 25. These guys are so overrated. It's not even funny. Literally, almost every game they've had have been too close to even be a top 2 team. Ohio State, on the other hand, has dominated the competition. If you're that highly ranked, you should not be letting the competition be that close. I mean, Indiana and Ohio State, that'll be an interesting game to see how that comes down to that game. I mean, honestly think, Oregon, they played a good game with Oregon. I'll give them hats off. But I kind of thought Oregon was overrated. But I think Ohio State will beat Indiana if they ever had a match. It'll be a close game. I'll put my heart out on that. It'll be a close game, but I'm going to die on the hill where it says Ohio State will beat Indiana because Ohio State's been consistent. They have, whenever the challenge was there, they rose to the challenge and they even attacked them right where they weren't expecting. They attacked where the screen passes were, and it showed. They even showed you how to battle the screen pass. Well, okay, back to where we were. Now, beat Vanderbilt, who beat LSU 31-24, will host Missouri. That was a surprise and a half. Then you have BYU, who beat out Utah 24-21, will host Iowa State. And then Notre Dame, who has a bye week, defeated USC in a weird fashion 34-24 because it was kind of a back and forth game for a while, but then at the very end, USC turned the ball over at their own end zone, and Notre Dame took advantage of that. They were trailing. They were down by a field goal. They could easily kick the field goal, but they didn't. Now, they'll travel to Boston College on November 1st. Now, Oklahoma, they took care of business with South Carolina 26-7, and they'll host Ole Miss. Now, Texas Tech, who fell to Arizona State 26-22, will host Oklahoma State. Now, Missouri, who pulled it off in double overtime against Auburn 23-17, will host Vanderbilt. So that'll be a very entertaining game there. That would be one to watch for the bonuses. Now, Virginia, who hosted Washington State, oh man, they almost got beat. That close. 22-20. They'll travel to North Carolina. Then Tennessee, obviously we just talked about Tennessee and Alabama. They'll travel to Kentucky after their 37-20 loss. And then South Florida, who demolished FAU 48-13, will travel to Memphis. Then Louisville, who upset Miami 24-21, will host Boston College. Now, LSU, who fell flat to Vanderbilt 31-24, will host Texas A&M. Then Cincinnati, who destroyed Oklahoma State 49-17, will host Baylor. Then Texas, who sneaked past Kentucky in overtime 16-13, will host Mississippi State. Then Illinois, who had a bye week, will host Washington. Then Arizona State, who upset Texas Tech 26-22, will host Houston. And then Michigan, who pretty much I can't necessarily say they took complete care of business, but slowly but surely took care of business because they made Washington run out of gas. Kind of like how Ohio State did it. They ended up beating Washington 24-7. And they travel to Michigan State, so that is going to be a game. And anytime someone travels to Michigan State, it's always going to be a tough place to play at. Now, unless Michigan comes with some kind of magic up their sleeve, that would be a game and a half. Now, respective games, UCLA beats out Maryland in overtime, 20-17. Then we have Iowa 25, Penn State 24. What the heck, Penn State? Have you lost your marbles? Or are you just that weak? I don't know what to say. Penn State's a really good. I thought Penn State was supposed to be Penn State's year. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. I totally changed my mind. It's not Penn State's year. We're not going back. We're not going forward, but backwards. But back to these other games. Michigan, I thought, is going to run the tables, I think. I think can win every game from here on out until they play Ohio State. It's going to be a battle, but I honestly don't see them beating Ohio State, honestly. Because with Ohio State's consistency constantly throughout every single game, if they keep that consistency up, they're going to win every single game this year. If they keep that consistency going. The defense is constantly inconsistent. The passing game is consistent. I mean, I can see Ohio State winning it. If someone can come up with some kind of magic that can stop Ohio State's passing game, then maybe you can convince me otherwise. But I've yet to see any team have some kind of magic up their sleeve to stop this pass. Well, with that being said, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. And with that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.